Welcome back again, everybody. It's Chili here from A Hero's Guide to Asgartha, and today we'll be going through the tournament results for Altered TCG week ending 19th of October. Once again, I'm still playing catch up. Let's see how long it takes me to catch up to where we are today. I do believe there's around 3 to 4 recordings to go. But I'm excited to see where we go now. Let's go through AWOL Season 4, Week 2, Monday, the 13th of October, 119 players. A big reduction in terms of people playing this week compared to the season launch. And I think that's because this was also the week that Worlds was happening. So, as people make their way back and forth around the different places, we had two people go undefeated. We had AA Flow LCSC on Basira and Kaisermon, and AA Bajulian on Sol and Halua, the first new hero to get a major win in one of the tournaments. Congratulations. You stamped yourself as the first Sol and Halua winner of a tournament. And let's have a look what we've got here. One before we look at those ones, just interesting to see that the Skybound Odyssey component staying very high at just under 20%. And in this one, you actually do see almost every hero be represented. Once again, just like last week, Waru being the only hero. Actually, that is not correct. In last week, it was only Waru. This week, it's Waru and also who's the Axiom player that nobody plays? Subash, not getting anyone to take a bite and try to play them in this tournament. All right, let's have a look at Flow LCSC's Basira build. And what we are looking here is the blend of one Duel of Grit with another. No spells coming from the new set. And in terms of cards being used from the previous set, only Colorful Cuckoo and Suha Quagga Operative. Suha is one of my favorite cards, as I spoke about just a few on my last episode. One of my favorite cards to have come out. Colorful Cookie, also one of my favorite cards to come out of the set. Those being the only inclusions. And really, Suha allows you to get boosts on play from hand. Therefore, you can basically win a side and then sabotage after rest. Your Colorful Cuckoo allows you to boost the moment someone plays a card in the same region or in the same area, whether it's your companion or your hero side. And then Basira and Kaisermon gives them that additional boost, which almost guarantees a win on that side as well. All right, let's have a look at the uniques that Flow has. The first one being a 5/5, the Council 3/5/5, and it has the same effect. The arrow on hand and from reserve abilities of characters facing me cannot activate. But when I go to reserve from the expedition zone, draw a card. And then when a character you control gains one or more boosts, draw a card. Really, really useful. Really nice, actually. So you could get a lot of card draw, especially late game, if you've got plenty of one-cost characters in your deck. The second unique is an Axiom Salvager, 2/3 for 1/0/1. So understated on that perspective. But if you control two or more boosted characters, resupply when played from anywhere. And when another character joins your expeditions, if I have two or more boosts, target character gains two boosts. Not bad. I think really strong in the late game, not very useful at the beginning. Because you're not going to traditionally have a lot of these boosts to play to begin with. And then the Bravos Excavator being the third one, 2/3 for 0/2/1. When played from reserve, target character other than me gains one boost. And when I leave the expedition zone, if I was boosted, draw a card. Not bad. This also has the Bravos Excavator traditional text. When it's in your reserve, when you play another character, I gain one boost up to a maximum of 3. So the second is the Bajulian's deck, and I think this deck really caught people by surprise as they learned to play against Sol and Halua, knowing that you have to try to almost finish your game early, and it's counterintuitive. Parliament of Ashes being the unique that's been played. Sorry, the rare's been played in the landmarks. Two of them. Honestly, this is just there. Yes, you do get the chance at the rare to get a draw, but on the other side, you make sure every one of your characters has tough. An additional tough. Skybound Odyssey is the style of build. You have this in a Sol and Halua build, so that way you can get rid of your cards quicker and ensure that that Halua token triggers up so that you can bring it out first of all at 3 tokens on your companion side, and then at 5 tokens, making it gigantic. The Phileas Fogs being the 3 uniques that they play, and we'll go through that in a second. Halua, Sakurabru, and the Hunger, really, really strong cards that have an effect that bother your opponent. Colorful Cuckoo is there as well because it allows you to have something that is anchored, which is great. And Outrun Teammate, allowing you to once again find ways of being able to play a card, give it a boost by also playing another card as you rush. But let's have a look at the 3 Phileas Fogs. They are becoming the treat of this game. A lot of this season, people are looking for these Phileas Fogs with similar effects that will basically allow you to pass immediately. So that's when you're playing Sol and Halua. Sorry, 4/4, Phileas Fogg, 4/4 for 3/2/3. When played from anywhere, you may immediately pass. And if you are first player up to 2 target characters, each gain 2 boosts, which is great. And by immediately passing, I do believe that it also enables you to get the Halua token out. And then you can give the 2 boosts to that Halua token, since as the controller of the play, you get to choose which of these triggers happens first. The second is a 4/4 Phileas Fog for 3/3/3. When played from anywhere, you may immediately pass. And if you do, put the top card of your deck in your mana zone. And the last one is a 4/4 3/3/4. So all of them fairly decently statted, and you may immediately pass. And if you have 6 or more mana orbs, characters you control gain 1 boost. A bit of fun there. Congratulations, Julian, for getting that first victory for Sol and Halua. Ligue Latam is the next tournament we're looking at. Week 18 on the 13th of October. 24 players, so we're getting back up to that level that they had before. And here we're seeing Skybound Odyssey almost be 30% of the deck composition as they start to test out these new cards. Now, I don't know if there's an issue with getting product and supply to South America that's causing this 1 week delay compared to the other tournaments, but we're seeing a lot of fun coming out of here. Once again, similar to many tournaments, it's very well balanced in Ligue Latam. We didn't have anyone go undefeated, but we did have 3 players go 5-1. That is RKC, Nico Zamop on Tasia and Naura, also Gigi Marcht, if I said that correctly, on Sierra and Oddball, and after use Victor Motta, who is constantly among the top in with his Sigismar and Wingspan build. So unfortunately, I do not look through decks when they don't go undefeated. That also helps me a little bit on the time side. And that does take us to AQZ Nook Blitz, Season 3, Week 2 on the 14th of October, 39 players, so starting to build this brand up on the Nook side as well. Roberto Farnas winning again, this time on Sigismar and Wingspan. Last week he had won this tournament using a Kesha, so let's have a look at the Sigismar build. And once again, Skybound Odyssey getting a big chunk of the of the cards that are played in here. So we're seeing Ugly Duckling really helping out as a member of AQZ, helping out Rinku with the testing of a number of different cards in these decks. So Ugly Duckling, Ascended Trooper, Gargoyle being 3 cards from the new set that are prevalent in this build. And congratulations once again. The Zen was meant to get all the benefit or the majority of the benefit of Ascend, but we're seeing Sigismar as a stronger hero, seeing this and saying, I can do better than you can. All right, then that takes us to the Road to Valhalla tournament, week 7 on the 14th of October. Single elimination, 58 players, so slightly higher than the previous week. And once again, Skybound Odyssey being greater than 20% of here. And this was won by Izuri and Pebble, the second of the new heroes. So congratulations to Toastmaster. You've put yourself in the Wall of Fame as the first person to win a tournament using Izuri and Pebble. Let's have a look at one of the major tournaments. Ada Lovelace, Martin Gale, and Anansi being the 3 uniques. I can imagine already what Anansi does. But in terms of the new cards that Izuri and Pebble is using, they've got Gavroche, two rare Gavroches in their decks, 3 Demolition Experts, 1 in the common, 2 at the rare. We're also looking at Paju. So we're seeing the staple of Paju not only in Trace builds, but also in Izuri now, at least with this build as well. And Restocking Station, Aerolith Reef, and the Refinery, a way of being able to really pass a lot of the boost to cards in your reserve. Interesting way, 8 landmarks, which makes sense when you're Izuri that you have a fair amount of landmarks to be able to go through, on top of being able to create the Aeroliths from her ability as well. But let's have a look at the uniques. Martingale, 2/2 for 2/1/2. When played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve, and if you do, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. The second is a 2/2 Ada Lovelace for 2/1/1. When played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, draw a card. And the Anansi, which I assume will be the same as most Anansis, 3/2 for 3/1/3. When played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 1 boost for each card in your reserve. This is a much more balanced Anansi than those that give you the benefit of anyone's reserve as well. Imagine playing multiplayer, you get it from 4 reserves, ridiculous. All right, then that takes us to the Nook Classic as sponsored by AQZ. And this had 38 players on Wednesday, the 15th of October. And this was won by actually 5 players went 5-1. No one went undefeated. Stefan Azorus on Kojo and Buddha, Biwat's Padawan on Rin and Orchid, Goblin 92350 on Basira and Kaisermon, Malrod 1 on Kojo and Buddha. So that's 2 Kojo and Buddhas that were at the top of the league ladder, and Stauf on Finn and Krober. But we will not go through any of those decks as they were not undefeated. And that takes us to AWOL on Wednesday, 15th of October, 19 players, so a slight reduction in the Wednesday count for the Americas. And this was won by Tasia and Naura of using Of the Flower as their name. So piloted by Of the Flower. And here we have got your Spindle style build, basically giving your cards protection against anyone that wants to get rid of your anchored cards. In terms of new cards being used from the set, really what we're looking at is just the Cuckoo, colorful Cuckoo being the only card coming out. I really like Saskia, even though there's just one of in this deck. If you're able to get enough things, if you're using it when you have cards in Forest, so strong. But really, let's have a look at the uniques they have. I'm assuming they're also going to be mass anchoring, which is the only build that you see working well, or at least getting top spots in Tasia. And now a 4/3 Sun Wukong for 3/4/2. When played from reserve, you may pay 1. If you do, I gain 2 boosts. And when I gain 1 or more boosts, up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less other than me gains anchored. The second unique is a 2/2 Muna Caregiver, 0/2/0. When played from anywhere, target character gains 1 boost. And when played from reserve, if you control 2 or more boosted characters, up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less other than me gains anchor. That's really strong because you almost get the second boost available to a character by having the Muna Caregiver do that. So really cool, as Tasia's ability will get the first one done. It also has its ability of being played, by discarding it from reserve to give a character with hand cost 3 or less other than me anchored. And then you've got your Isun Boshi, 2/2 for 0/2/3. When a character you control gains 1 or more boost, if you control 2 or more boosted characters, up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less other than me gains anchored. So it is that mass anchor. The Sun Wukong's a little bit more on the expensive side, but to be able to have that as your late piece and getting Muna Caregiver and Isun Bushi early is fantastic. All right, then that takes us to the Nook single elimination on Sunday, the 19th of October. 25 players, so a big reduction. This was also because it was done on the same day as the Worlds finals as well. And this was won by Stauf after almost getting the full victory on AWOL, decides to play in with Tristan Rossum and gets the win in the single elimination. And here, what we are seeing is Paju once again, very similar to most, very traditional is what I'd call it. Traditional in the sense of this is the new style to play Tristan Rossum within the Skybound Odyssey, I guess, season, and which is bring out the Pajus and then have a lot more landmarks. 8 landmarks available to you here to be able to play, almost playing like an Isri deck there. Restocking Station, Aerolith Wreath, and bringing back the Keelon Cylinder, which we've seen drop off in other places. Normally, you just have the Haven, the Armor Jammer, and Keelon Cylinder, and we're adding 3 more landmarks here to be able to get it. From a perspective of their defense mechanism, is really just the booms that we have. And of course, Hooked, while it does draw your card, can also make sure that you can go 1-1 against your opponent. That does take us to the World Championship in Paris, 32 players. What we are seeing here is the conglomerate of the cards that these players brought in. We're also showing the top 8, and we can see here it was won by Rinku on Trace, Kojo, and Sigismar. Victoria, who came second, also used those same 3 heroes. But what's interesting, as we move down slightly on the ladder, we had an Achadi, we had a Fen player by Chrysis Mac. Luigi had an Avenka and Tasia. Everyone's basically using Trace except for Chrysis Mac, which is great. And also, Javi Navarro did not use it. He did come in through the last chance qualifier as well. Popeye using Sigismar, Basira and Tasia, Temper de la Neige on Fen, Traced, and Kojo. So Fen, a lot of people using different heroes. No representation in the top 8 though by any of the Izmir heroes. That adjustment to Afanis has really been felt. I think this would have been a very different tournament had Afanis still had all his goodies available to himself. And I almost feel that everyone would have used Sigismar as their counter to Afanis as well. All right, let's look at Rinku's 3 decks that he won the Worlds with. And just as an FYI, I've done a video myself and Nick got together with Rinku. He took us through his tournament, more so in terms of how every game played out rather than the preparation. If you want to look at the preparation, have a look at Blue's videos. But really, really fascinating to get into the mind of the world champion, a very deserving world champion in terms, from my view, and a fellow teammate of mine in Team AQZ. But let's have a look at what he had. So he ended up keeping 3 Tengus. He ended up adding in Leviathan spotters to his Kojo and Buddha builds, more so that way you have the ability of getting card draw, which meant that he needed to have cards in his hands that characters that cost 4 or more. And what we're seeing here is you've got the Mighty Jins, you've got the Priyas, you've got the Halua, and you've got the Hunger to be able to get that card draw. Enough in his mind to be able to get what he needs, really reduce the landmarks to just the Havens. And then from a perspective of what do they do against other characters, you got your Duel of Grits and you got your Mana Eruptions. Your Rage is really there for the Hunger more than anything else as well. So you can see that. Haven Sarengar, of course, another staple that gets you more card draw. There's a lot of elements in here of card draw, and we'll have a look at the uniques that he had in play. So the first one being a 3/3, 2/1/2 Tooth Fairy. When I leave the expedition zone, Sabotage and a Dust, draw a card. So Sabotage and drawing a card is, I think, is what we're going to see. A 3/3 Order Spy, 1/3/1. And this Order Spy is when played from anywhere, Sabotage, and when I leave the expedition zone, Sabotage again. This is a fantastic card. Then we've got an Ozma, 3/3 for 2/2/1. When played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 2 boosts. And when I leave the expedition zone, if I have 2 or more boosts, draw a card. Really, really lovely. Let's have a look, though, at Sigismar that he built. I'll say this from a perspective, he has made one of my cards incredibly famous. But let's look here. So the Ugly Ducklings, as we spoke about earlier, in Reverter Farnes's deck, he's testing it for Rinku. Ugly Duckling became a staple. Bumblebee was reduced to just a single card. Ascended Trooper became a staple yet again. Gargoyle becoming a staple because of its mountain stats and the ability of making another side one of your 2 expeditions to ascend. The one card I still don't know why it's been played is the Moth Collision. I get that if you ascend, you can reduce the cost of this. Saw is also there as a cheap after you, and also ascends, and this is basically ascended Sigismar build. Let's have a look at the 3 uniques. The first one being my one. The Kokoba Legion Commander, 4/4 for 2/2/2. When played from hand, create an Orders Recruit soldier token in your companion expedition. And at dusk, if you control 4 or more characters, draw 2 cards. And it has another benefit of when another non-token character joins your expedition, create an Orders Recruit 1/1/1 soldier token in your hero expedition. The Baba Yagas, the first of which of the uniques is a 2/2 for 1/1/1. When played from reserve, draw a card. And at dusk, if you have less than 8 mana orbs, draw a card. The third one is a 3/3, 3/2/3 Baba Yaga. When I leave the expedition zone, if you have less than 8 mana orbs, draw a card. And when an opponent draws 1 or more cards or does resupply, create an Orders Recruit 1/1/1 soldier token in target expedition. That part is really, I would say, very beneficial against Traced, very beneficial against Fen, should he have met them on his way to winning the world championship. And the third of his decks, the one that he said he had the least amount of practice on, and probably the one that he lost every mirror on, except for one, if I can recall correctly, was with Trace and Rossum. And here you're looking at it, a very much traditional, in the Skybound sense, deck, only going for the 2 Gibbles though, and choosing for the single Grems at the common, 2 Grems at the rare, and only 2 Pajus in what they've got here. So let's have a look at the uniques that they had. The first is an Anansi 4/2 for 2/2/3. When played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 1 boost for each card in each player's reserve. That's a fantastic, although it does cost a little bit more than what I would call opportune or the most optimal. Martingale 2/1 for a 1/1/0. When played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If it's a permanent, the next permanent you play this afternoon costs 1 less. And when played from hand, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, resupply. And then the third is a Munadruid 3/2 for 2/1/3. When played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 1 boost for each card in your reserve. So basically, a Nancy in the Munadruid. So not bad at all. And that does take us to the end of this week's tournament recap. We did have Worlds, which was a fantastic, fantastic event. Really cool to see it. I wasn't able to go there. I had to watch as much as I could from my phone in many cases, given I had family and work commitments and also some church commitments as well. And it was brilliant to watch. One of the coolest things that I had while I was there is to seeing so many of my friends either be on screen or be on cast. And what I've noticed here is that I need to update the Lyra component as well. It's not showing the new hero, and I'll make that change there as we go through. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to continuing these recordings and play catch up over the next week, and we will be back up and running. My hope is to release a lot of these on Sundays midweek following all of the tournaments being uploaded into 39cards.com. So usually about a week behind. And I will see you on the next one.